We begin with California Governor Gavin Newsom, who spent the weekend trying to avoid responsibility as the fires were still burning by dropping by the Pod Save America podcast for an attempt to clean up his own image.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened.
Now watch this. We don't have to play the whole thing, just the first 30 seconds. Watch how he's finally wanting to have his people be responsible. Go ahead, Rob.
If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
Okay.
That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated.
Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David just dropped the political version of a truth bomb on Gavin Newsom. They ripped apart his carefully polished public image like confetti flying at a campaign party gone wrong. With sharp humor and clear focus, they reveal the California governor as a walking PR act. Perfect hair, smooth talking, and big promises that fall apart the second anyone looks closer. From weak policies to loud hypocrisy, this wasn't casual talk or light criticism. It was a full takedown. The kind so brutal, even Newsom's own reflection would hesitate. This was raw, intense political damage delivered fast, clean, and without a second of hesitation.
He had no dignity. That's what I was missing. There was no dignity. It just looked like a man desperate for attention. And whenever DeSantis was scoring points on him, he would interrupt over and over to try to talk over the points as just a, that's like a middle school debate tactic, which is pathetic and not.
This was a catastrophic moment in his career. And now people are sitting there worried and saying, are we ready if an earthquake happens? I honestly don't care if you're straight, gay, lesbian. I have no interest in any of that stuff. But if we're hiring you and you're talking about you want to increase diversity, that's not your job. Your job is to protect the families.
Megyn Kelly didn't waste a second setting the tone when she locked in on Gavin Newsom, turning the moment into something that felt less like a political critique and more like a high-profile comedic takedown delivered with perfect precision. She didn't raise her voice or lose control. She simply lifted an eyebrow and took apart his public image piece by piece, like a seasoned professional tired of entertaining an overhyped act pretending to impress. It wasn't just what she said that landed. It was the calm, steady way she said it, carrying a quiet disbelief that someone so carefully styled could still be so disconnected from the real lives most people are actually living.
I forgot to mention Gavin Newsom. Now, he's a far left progressive, and Bill Maher just came out in favor of him. But he's the most radical Democrat in America. Honestly, his politics may be left of the squads. He would be a hard no. I don't care how good his hairline is. They're going to say no. It's not another.
Megyn zeroed in on what she famously called the shampoo commercial of American politics. She framed Gavin Newsom not as a real leader or serious policymaker, but as a glossy ad built entirely on looks and smooth delivery. In her view, he wasn't leading anything. He was posing, selling style without substance, and staging press events that felt half fashion shoot and half tangled talking points, where lighting and camera angles mattered more than clear action. Every public appearance, she suggested, seemed to require a stylist, a ring light, and a makeup crew polished enough to compete with some of Hollywood's top professionals.
You know, a great drinking game is when you watch a Newsom speech and every time he says, you take a shot, you'll be fucking hammered within 3 minutes.
So it's actually a pretty good drinking game. You know, this guy lost $1 trillion of money under management that left the state of California last 4 years.
Yeah, and he's done nothing to make people want to come back or stay. He's making it worse.
But that goes back to the idea when you're saying Trump versus, Kamala or any of this stuff. To me, it goes basics to economy. You lost 2 people due to economy. And Elon Musk, he says, I got a vengeance to get back to these guys because what did he say about his losing his son?
He said that.
So my son Xavier is dead.
Then she delivered her sharp breakdown of Gavin Newsom's well-known lockdown hypocrisy, doing it with a calm confidence that made the point hit even harder. Megyn pointed out that nothing screams public servant quite like sneaking into a luxury restaurant while telling everyone else to mask up and eat outside in the cold rain. She didn't even need to say the name. Everyone already knew, because that French Laundry dinner is basically stamped on his public record forever. It wasn't the meal she focused on. It was the smug attitude, the rule-breaking confidence, and that we make the rules but don't follow them swagger that has come to define the Newsom reputation.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state,
and you weren't getting straight answers from
I was getting
leaders.
different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story.
So you decided the thing to do would be to go on Pod Save America to talk about it, because it's in the end, it's all about you. This is another David Muir, folks. He is just as vain and worried about his image in the middle.
Megyn dug into his emergency hair appointment during the height of pandemic restrictions with the kind of precision only someone truly fed up could deliver. While everyday Californians were blocked from visiting dying relatives, Newsom was off getting his haircut touched up like he was prepping for the cover of a style magazine. According to Megyn, he seemed far more concerned with fixing a stubborn cowlick than flattening the infection curve, turning a serious crisis into yet another reminder of how out of touch his priorities had become.
What is kind of weird on the playbook, the page is taken out of the playbook, is his current play is the play to stay governor of California. It's not the play to become the president. Who is he winning over?
The moderate play or the radical play?
It's a radical play.
Yeah, right.
Now.
They're kind of getting mixed
up.
up.
But to get the moderate play is for being a president. The radical play is to stay governor of California. It doesn't make any sense.
But how do you win the primary?
Megyn went after his climate change policies too, not because she mocked caring about the environment, but because Newsom had turned it into a Hollywood-style blockbuster. In her telling, the gas stove was the villain and he was the glowing hero, charging his Tesla while the state's power grid barely held together. To her, only someone living comfortably inside a polished mansion of image and guilt could demand everyone else give up their comfort, while he hosted backyard gatherings lit by decorative lanterns. She also tore apart the way he markets himself as America's backup president, always waiting in the wings like an understudy who insists on bringing his own spotlight. She painted him as the kind of man who wakes up, admires his reflection, and then calls his PR team before brushing his teeth. Megyn pointed out how desperate he seemed to trend, to go viral, to stay relevant, not through ideas, but through vanity and theatrics. And with a sharp smile, she noted how California's massive exodus had become the largest unplanned migration since the gold rush. Only this time, people weren't arriving, they were escaping. To her, Newsom was the guy who inherited the mansion, set it on fire, and then blamed the neighbors for not bringing enough hoses.
This is the governor of California, the great state of California, which he's destroyed the last 4 years under his reign. He's being asked, what happened for this $24 billion that you asked us taxpayers to fix homelessness? What happened to that money? Here's the exchange. Go ahead, Rob.
To determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent.
One of the vexing issues that was highlighted in the audit was local. And each city and county has different strategies and approaches. We've tried to level set that.
I'm sorry, Governor, I didn't hear responses to either of those questions. Do you acknowledge whether the money that the state isn't doing enough to ensure that the money is being well spent?
The audit did not surprise me.
When Megyn wrapped up, the audience didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or start checking moving trucks to Texas. But one thing was crystal clear. She had taken Gavin Newsom's polished public image and shoved it straight through a common-sense meat grinder. Then Patrick Bet-David stepped in. And if Megyn was the scalpel, Patrick was the sledgehammer, swinging with business-minded precision and years of experience spotting failure from a mile away. Nobody delivers a tougher roast than someone who has built real companies and knows exactly what incompetence looks like up close. Patrick didn't rely on flash or theatrics. He came armed with receipts, facts, and raw frustration. He argued that Newsom runs California like a failing startup desperate to pretend everything is fine, flashing a perfect smile whenever results are questioned and launching new marketing campaigns instead of fixing real problems. Patrick said flat out that if Newsom were a CEO, he would have been fired, sued for mismanagement, and locked out of the company dashboard a long time ago.
In any event, they're melting down on the left over what Gavin Newsom is doing, which is kind of fun. I mean, it almost makes me want to see it continue, but not really, because unlike Bill Maher, who definitely has a touch of the TDS, but can be fair to Republicans, the way Gavin Newsom governs is truly radical. I mean, there's nothing fair about the way he runs California when it comes to fairness to Republicans.
Patrick didn't hold back when he went after the idea that a governor overseeing a fast-growing homelessness crisis could somehow sell himself as a national leader. He said it was like watching the captain of the Titanic volunteer to fly a space shuttle. He hammered the wave of major companies fleeing California, pointing out that Tesla is gone, Oracle is gone, and countless small businesses have been wiped out beyond recovery, leaving behind empty storefronts and lost opportunity. Patrick argued that if Newsom were running a company and lost that many clients, the board wouldn't just fire him. They'd change the locks, cut his access, and act like he was never hired in the first place. He compared Gavin's economic strategy to lighting piles of money on fire, filming it in slow motion, and calling it visionary art. Patrick then turned to education, describing California's school system under Newsom as so broken it could double as a documentary on what happens when activism replaces real academics. Test scores keep dropping, students keep falling behind, and the only thing rising is the budget for excuses explaining why none of it is ever his fault. He also mocked the state's taxes, calling them a protection racket dressed up as policy, saying Newsom treats taxpayers like guests trapped in a luxury hotel, paying more, getting less, and expected to smile the whole time.
Nothing. He's sided over and over with that lunatic, Scott Wiener, the one that Carrie and Britt have been chasing down all over California on his radical trans ideology. I think he's only rejected that guy one time on his most crazy trans agenda. And now he wants to come out and say like, oh yeah, boys shouldn't be in girls' sports. Like Charlie said, well, what have you done about it?
Patrick's roast went far beyond critiquing Newsom's leadership. It was about tearing apart the polished illusion behind his confident mask, the one pretending charm can replace results. He argued that Gavin's biggest accomplishment wasn't governing. It was convincing people that charisma and dramatic speeches could cover up real failures. According to Patrick, California didn't collapse from lack of resources. It collapsed under a flood of Newsom's mismanagement. He compared the state to a luxury cruise ship with a charming captain who loves hosting champagne brunches but has no idea how to steer. And every time the ship hits another iceberg, Gavin just smiles and blames climate change, political opponents, or the weather. Patrick's final jab hit hardest. If Newsom were a brand, he'd be one of those expensive cologne bottles that look perfect on a shelf, hyped with huge marketing, but smell of panic and bad decisions the moment the lid is off. He said it wasn't cruelty, it was blunt, comical honesty, showing how politicians like Newsom use fog machines and slogans to hide the collapse happening right in front of everyone.
This is the governor of California, the great state of California, which he's destroyed the last 4 years under his reign. He's being asked, what happened for this $24 billion that you asked us taxpayers to fix homelessness? What happened to that money? Here's the exchange. Go ahead, Rob.
To determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent.
One of the vexing issues that was highlighted in the audit was local. And each city and county has different strategies and approaches. We've tried to level set that.
I'm sorry, Governor, I didn't hear responses to either of those questions. Do you acknowledge whether the money that the state isn't doing enough to ensure that the money is being well spent?
The audit did not surprise me. The state has advanced unprecedented investments, you're correct, and unprecedented interventions demanding more accountability with state money at the local level.
What does that mean, buddy?
It's like, at what point are the people going to say enough is enough and stop putting these type of people in power? It's your money, California. It's your money. And where's it going? Nothing is getting done. The streets are horrible.
Both Megyn and Patrick saw exactly what strategy Newsom was playing. Show up everywhere, look confident, and hope no one notices the chaos unfolding behind the curtain. But the mask was slipping fast. The glossy finish cracking, and the punchlines were practically writing themselves. Megyn mocked how Newsom constantly lectures the rest of the country while his own state wobbles like a Jenga tower built from lies and empty promises, pointing out how he criticizes other governors while avoiding any mirror that reflects his own failures. She joked that he acts like a substitute teacher trying to discipline the school principal. Patrick followed with equally sharp digs, calling Newsom's national ambitions the equivalent of someone who burns down his own kitchen and confidently applies for a chef job at the White House. In Patrick's view, the only place Newsom should be leading America is in a cautionary documentary about hiring someone for looks instead of results. And neither of them stopped there. They weren't just talking to an audience, they were speaking to taxpayers watching a state blessed with perfect weather, natural beauty, and innovation turn into a cautionary tale. To them, Newsom didn't fail quietly. He failed loudly, dramatically, and with a soundtrack. Megyn highlighted the absurdity of him trying to rebrand nationally after turning California into a real-life reality show where no one wins the final rose. She compared him to a Netflix series that somehow got renewed despite terrible reviews, simply because the studio liked the poster.
Your kids in the school system of California, no matter what part of California you're in, why would you do that? So you don't trust the system. Number 4, if you choose to start a small business in California, do you think they've cleaned the homelessness? They got $24 billion of taxpayer money, and homelessness just went up. In America, we have 770,000 of homeless people in America. 181 of it is in California. This man has been the governor for 6 years, the lieutenant governor prior to that for 8 years. His policies have destroyed.
Patrick fully agreed, adding that if Newsom ran a gym, people would walk in, see the equipment literally on fire, and still be handed a membership form with a massive markup, while being told everything was perfectly fine. Then Newsom would appear on TV to explain the chaos was just a misunderstanding, and that customers should smile more and enjoy the experience. For Megyn and Patrick, this wasn't personal, it was national. A warning that smooth talk and Instagram-ready policies mean nothing when a state becomes a flashing caution sign for the rest of the country. They argued that if someone can't lead without a ring light, maybe they shouldn't be leading at all, no matter how polished they look. So, they kept going. Every roast, every sharp line, every comedic jab wasn't aimed just at Newsom the man, but at the whole illusion that charisma can replace competence. To them, Gavin was the final boss of political packaging, and they came armed with receipts, jokes, and enough blunt truth to shake the entire stage.
That Gavin Newsom was basically almost burned alive, the governor of California. Take a listen.
We went up to one of the canyons on the fire, sitting there feeling we're a good quarter mile away. I'm not making this up, video to bear it out. All of a sudden, we see an ember, hits the tree goes on fire, 100 seconds. God is my witness, may have been 90 seconds. The house is in flames. I have embers of flames. They're taking it off my hair, and we're running back into the car. Winds are swirling around. Garbage cans were in the air, and we were getting the hell out of there.
Okay, why is he saying his God is my witness and I'm not making...
Somewhere in California, Newsom's PR team was scrambling as Megyn circled back, pointing out that his real talent wasn't governing, it was auditioning. Every camera, every speech, every dramatic press moment was just another screen test for a role he hadn't actually earned. She compared his whole approach to selling sparkling dreams built on a dazzling smile, even as the foundation beneath those dreams quietly crumbled. Patrick wasn't done either. He compared Newsom's leadership to a luxury car with a flawless exterior but no engine. A machine that looks impressive but only moves when someone pushes it from behind. He mocked how Gavin turns every crisis into a branded photo op, slapping hashtags on disasters and calling it leadership, as if marketing could replace actual solutions. Patrick warned that if the country let someone with this pattern move from California to the national stage, people would soon be paying more for less and expected to smile the whole time. Together, Megyn and Patrick weren't just roasting Newsom. They were pulling back the curtain on an entire performance built on curated chaos, polished theatrics, and an image that couldn't survive real scrutiny.